Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have the brand new Jump In event. This is going to be another iteration of Jumpstart, so similar to Jumpstart or Jumpstart Historic Horizons. In this event we'll be paying our entry fee to pick up two 20-card themed decks, shuffle them together into their own unique strategy, and play that deck against other players who have done the same. This time the entry fee is only 1,000 gold or 200 gems, so a lot cheaper than previous Jumpstart events, but this time around you only get an additional reward for your first win instead of your first two wins, and you could just get an uncommon. You're not necessarily going to get a rare this time around. Other than that, the only difference is that this time all of the decks and cards within this format are going to be standard legal, so they're all going to be cards from Zendikar up to Innistrad Midnight Hunt. So that is great news for standard players. For limited exclusive players or historic brawl players like myself, that doesn't really matter. Pretty much same difference to me. But yeah, cheaper entry fee, a little bit less prizes. I'm super fine with it. It means that we can play more of this format for cheaper if we don't care about expanding our collection that much, and should be a fun time like any other Jumpstart event. So with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and pay our entry and check out what 3 themed packets we've got to choose from. The other thing to note that I forgot to mention here is that I will have a link in the description below to the official page announcing this format from Wizards of the Coast. And on that page, you can check out the deck list to all of the cards in any of the packets. That way, if you're trying to play this format and expand your own collection, and you want to know what cards you could possibly open up in, say, the Rock and Roll deck, then you can do that. You can go and look through there and look up what you might need. So anyways, let's see what we have here. We have Zombies, going to be a blue-black zombie tribal deck. Definitely focused around a lot of Innistrad Midnight Hunt cards, I am sure. We have Rock and Roll, a mono-red dice rolling deck, I would assume, with Brazendorf as the kind of title card there. And Sacrificial in black, going to be a mono-black deck about sacrificing creatures for value. So, out of all of these, I'm actually just going to go with the blue-black zombies here. Potentially. The only thing I don't like about that is that our second packet will have less options. So the way that Jumpstart works, at least in Jumpstart Historic Horizons and this brand new Jump In event, is that the 3 packets you get, they will always lean towards giving you 2 colored decks total. So if you take a dual colored packet the first time, if you take a blue-black packet, then the next 3 themed packets you get to choose from will all be within blue or black. You can't play like a blue-black-red deck or a blue-black-white deck. That's just not going to happen. So we'll have more variety in our options next time around if I take a monocolored packet, because then we'll probably see, a green, white, or blue deck, something like that. Whereas with zombies, we'll just have blue or black packets, but zombies seems like probably the coolest strategy here, so might still go with it. The second coolest would be dice rolling, though. Dice rolling does seem fun. It's going to be very random. You know what? Just to choose a monocolored packet here, let's take Rock and Roll and see what we open up in our next 3. Alright, so yeah, as you can see now, we have the options between a blue, black, or white deck, instead of just decks from 2 colors here. So we have Sorceress, going to focus around casting a lot of instance sorceries and wizards. I'm assuming it's just like a deck with a bunch of wizards that care about instants and sorceries. That would make sense. It's kind of a pun. Sorceress there, wizards casting a lot of spells, wizards being sorcerers, and getting value off of literally casting sorceries. So that could be fun. There's Sacrificial again, so we could do black, red, dice rolling, and sacrificing. Or we could just do Lorehold and represent my favorite college, my college of choice. I think we got to do Rock and Roll with some Lorehold mixed in. Gotta represent the college of choice when you can. So Rock and Roll, Lorehold, jumping on into the gameplay here. Let's see how our deck does. And I am playing this immediately after the arena update, so we may have some server issues. That does tend to happen. Hopefully not. Oh my god, the Lorehold deck has Velomachus Lorehold? Well, that's an incredible card to open up here. We only have 3 lands, but If we make it to that mana, that thing's going to be insane. Super sweet card. Well, I'm very excited to open that up. And as before, as with Jumpstart Historic Horizons, all of the themed decks this time around, there is some variety in what you could open up in them, so I am gonna guess that Velomachus Lorehold isn't a guaranteed mythic rare in that Lorehold deck, and I'm gonna assume we got pretty lucky to open that up, because that is super spicy for a limited format like this. So anyways, turn 2 we play our Goblin and Morningstar, and our opponent throws a Spikefield Hazard at it, throwing 1 damage to our Goblin and killing it, but we do still have that equipment left behind, and it looks like maybe a mirror match here. We're both playing red-white, and our opponent has Stonebound Mentor, which is very much a Lorehold card. It has the Lorehold insignia and everything. So it could be a mirror match here. We have a really slow hand. Everything in our hand now costs 5 mana or more. So we are going to have to wait quite some time here, especially because the lands that we're drawing now do come into play tapped, like Sajiri Shelter here, Sajiri Glacier, I should say. So hopefully we don't get beat up too much by this Stonebound Mentor. Alright, another comes into play tapped land. At least this one is not a spell, so we can keep the Shelter for later if we need it, but we're going down to 8 life now. Very, very slow hand. I got very excited to see Velomachus Lorehold, and unfortunately we might die before we cast them. Okay, so we do have 5 mana now. I think a big play for us, probably our biggest play, would be Swarming Goblins. Get a 4/3 to block their 4/3, and some 1/1s to potentially block there. Well, we do get 1/1 to chump block with at least. We're definitely playing Sajiri Shelter tapped. So that we have 6 mana for next turn to play Earth Cult Elemental, have a giant 6/6 to block with. If we draw an untapped land, we can of course cast Velomachus Lorehold and just attack them with a 5/5 flyer and hold it back to block with, since it does have vigilance. That could be very good. We'll see here. We are down to 8 life here, so if our opponent has any cards to exile cards from their graveyard or return them to their hand, we're going to be taking some big damage here, and that looks to be the case here. Returned Past Caller will return an instant or a spirit, and they choose to return Stolen Vitality, which means that they will be damaging us and scrying 1 from those 2 cards. So we will go ahead and kill the bigger card, the Fuming Effigy, chump block the other creature there, but I think we're casting Velomachus if we can. Alright, we don't hit a land, so we can't cast Velomachus. We have 6 mana total. We can only cast 1 spell here. We could play our own Past Caller to block theirs. They do have +3 and Trample. Yeah, +3 and Trample during their turn. I don't think that we can survive, because if we play a creature on the ground, the Past Caller kills us in the sky. If we play something in the sky like a Past Caller, I guess we save Farada's Fireball and then just use that in response to whatever they do. That's our only way to survive. Because if we play this, we take 7 damage in the sky because they give it +3. If we play this, or this, either of our flyers, and block, they can still just give Trample and hit us for 5 in the sky, 3 on the ground. So our only way to live is to Fireball whatever they buff up with +3/+1 here. I guess they have 7 damage on board, so they don't even have to cast it here. So we just Fireball the flyer, and then they buff the Mentor, and we go to 1 life. If they have Sajiri Shelter, then we are very dead. I guess they threw it on Past Caller for some reason. Alright, still dies. We'll take 3, down to 2. Smoldering Egg is a dangerous card here. If this flips, it's a 4/4 flyer, and it just kills us whenever they cast an instant or sorcery, since we are down to 2 life. Well, all we need now is something that can block a 3/3. I'd like to play multiple blockers if I can. I don't see a way to do that. I think since we can only play 1 blocker here, we just play our best blocker, which is going to be just a big old 6/6 on the ground. Although, there's an argument for casting the Past Caller and picking up the Fireball. Kind of want to do that. It would just trade with Mentor. I'm going to cast Past Caller. The problem with this is that it just trades for the Mentor. But the upside to this is we get to blow up their Smoldering Egg before it flips, because we get to do 5 damage to it. And the downside is we die no matter what. Pigment Storm kills our 4-2 and flips the Ashmouth Dragon. So even if we played a 6-6 on the ground, they could do 5 damage to our 6-6, which wouldn't matter. It would survive, but that would still flip the Ashmouth Dragon in the sky. We'd take 4 damage in the sky there. So either way we played there, we would have died. Definitely a hand that was just too slow, too excited about opening Velomach's Lorehold, but on the plus side, the jump in or the jump start formats are always very casual formats. We can lose as much as we want as long as we get one win. Eventually we'll get all of the same prizes that we would have if we just won our first game, so it just means we get to play around with our Lorehold deck a little bit longer. Alright, so opponent's on the play here, but this is a much more reasonable hand in terms of the mana curve, so definite keep here. We have 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana cards. Stuff to play throughout all portions of the game, instead of just trying to cast our 7 mana mythic. Alright, so I don't know what deck our opponent's on, but they're on black-white here, so the Silver Quill colors with a Ritual Guardian as their first play. A 3-2 that gets lifelink when they have Coven, but we have the Sacred Fire to do 2 damage to that and gain 2 life, and we can even flash this back later to go ahead and get rid of something else. So Sacred Fire, a really sweet piece of removal here from the Lorehold deck. Our opponent has some sweet removal too, though, in whatever they're playing. Bloodchief's Thirst. Gonna go ahead and destroy our Breakneck Berserker. Well, I think I'd rather play Chaos Channeler before Delina Wildmage, so we can get some card draw set up. Looks like our opponent is not a fan of that, or not a fan of what's in their hand, and they're just gonna scoop immediately. So I guess we kind of get a free win there. I am going to play a little bit more here, probably play a half hour of this event, even though we already got our prize out of it, but just kind of a preemptive concession from our opponent. So let's see what our random reward is. Just an uncommon, just a Rune of Speed from Kaldheim. But let's get a little bit more gameplay before I close out this video for the day. I did want to do at least one video of the new format, and I am recording this on the day of release for the new format, so it should be up very quickly for you all, hopefully, so I can show it off. But probably not going to play too much of this one. Alright, well, we have to make it to 6 mana cards, so I'm just going to play the flip land turn 1 here, because it's very likely we'll have to play it eventually to get to our 6 mana Earth Cult Elemental. Our opponent starts with a Malakir Blood Priest, a 2-1 that drained us for 1 life when it came to play. And now an Ardent Electromancer. Alright, so a red-black party deck here. The Rakdos party is on. Both of these cards with a good enter the battlefield effect based on how big your party is. Your party is basically your group of creatures with the specific Dungeons and Dragons kind of creature types. Clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards will add to the size of your party. So they have a cleric and a wizard right now. So I cast the Morning Patrol there because it's the card that I would be the happiest to trade off with any of their creatures right now, being a creature with Disturb, a creature that can come back from our graveyard. And a Deadly Alliance for only 3 mana because they have 2 creatures in their party. That is going to kill the Morning Patrol, clear the board here so they can attack in for 5, put us down to 12 life, an aggressive start from the Rakdos deck. See if we can come back from that here. Don't like Delina here because she's only really good at attacking, making copies when we attack, so I might just flash back the Morning Apparition or cast it for its Disturb cost, just to get a 2-1 out to trade off with their 3-2. And also make the most of our mana. Yeah, fairly certain all I want to do here is block right now, being at 12 life, facing 5 damage on the board, and I don't want to block with like a good creature like Delina, because that would just be a trade down our good card for their their card that's already got all of its value off its enter the battlefield effect. So I'd rather cast our weaker creatures first to be the sacrificial fodder to stop the damage, but oof, this Rakdos deck just coming at us with the curve. The Thundering Spark Mage now going to clear the board again on the enter the battlefield effect of this card. And that means they have 7 power on board now, and we're at 7 life. If they have a removal spell for whatever creature we cast this turn, they will close this game out real fast. So Barbarian class is the draw for helping our dice rolls. So all we can do is put 1 creature onto the board here, and they're all going to be a 3/2, and that's it for blocks. So may as well cast the cheaper 3/2 so we can get the Barbarian class on the board for later, potentially. But I'm not sure there will be a later. We'll see here. They've got 4 cards in hand. If any of that is removal or anything with haste, that is going to close this one out. What have you got, opponent? I wonder what their second theme packet is, because every single card we've seen so far is strictly to do with party, so we don't know what their other strategy is. Alright, well I guess just all in on the party is gonna kill us here, because a 5/2 menace, all we can do is block one of the 2/2s, and that will wrap this game up here. Well, I can say the Rakdos party deck is looking pretty sweet, that's for sure. But didn't get to see their secondary theme. Alright, let's grab another game here. Gonna go on for about a half hour for this video. Normally I play the jumpstart videos until I get my 2 wins, but in this one, since it only requires 1 win and our first win was completely free, let's just go ahead and get some more gameplay here in the brand new format for today's video before I move on. This hand seems pretty good to me. We have a 2-mana card to play. We've got, of course, our 6-mana card later, and a mid-rangey 4-mana card. Stuff to do through all points of the game. I am again going to just play the Sejiri Glacier, so that I have that mana on the board for our later cards. We could have played Historian there, but I don't really want to trade it for a 1/1, so it's not like I'm going to block with it or attack with it anytime soon. I guess we should have still played Historian turn 2 and then played our tapped land turn 3. It would have made a little more sense, but I don't think the Historian's really affecting this board because this 1/1's here. I suppose out of all the 1/1s in the game, this is one that we might want to trade into because it could be a 4/4 later, especially now that they have Ghoulish Procession on the board, creating a 2/2 decayed zombie every time something dies. Once per turn. But still, that means they're more likely to have the sacrificial fodder to flip that Awakener into being a 4/4. Ooh. Alright, so the mono black sacrifice deck and the goblins deck in red is what I would guess. Really good combination here. That gives them a lot of token fodder, that goblin gang leader. Well, we've got some goblins of our own here. The swarming goblins. And we do have the mana to cast our Earth Cult Elemental next turn, so that'll be pretty sweet. We still don't have great attacks. If I attack with Fuming Effigy, we can clear out a 2/2 and a 1/1 from them, but that's about it. We can block really well, so I think I just want to hold on to our creatures here and wait till we have a big old 6/6 to send in. Alright, well, if they have some kind of instant to give Death Touch here, they can take out our 4/2, that's fine with me. Ooh, our Covert Cutpurse, I guess, is in the black deck there. Destroys something that's been dealt damage. Alright, here we go. Let's get our 6/6 onto this board, force them to sacrifice a card or 2. Just 1 card needs to be sacrificed here. They could sacrifice the Cutpurse if they want to bring it back as a 2/2 flying Death Touch here, but they can also just block with it at some point and still do that. Looks like they just sacrifice the Decayed Zombie, which makes sense. I do not like Abandon the Post. I'm guessing they put this in the Lorehold deck. I don't think Abandon the Post looks particularly good for our deck here. We have just always been on the defensive, being a slower deck. So this kind of card to shut off blockers. Not ideal. Trade with the gang leader, they can move this axe around. Do they have any other warriors? No. So no other warriors. Maybe the red deck is the warrior deck. And that goblin gang leader just happens to be a warrior. Yeah, let's take this trade, because everything else would just grow into being a 2 toughness creature. Like a 3-2 or something like that, and our 2-1 can block that one. Alright, well, we are looking to draw some sweet cards here. If we can hit our Velomachus, something like that, that would be pretty phenomenal. Alright, send in that Decayed Zombie. That sure does happen. Decayed Zombies die after combat, regardless of if they were blocked, so we're just gonna let that shed its skin, fall away here. And they're gonna respond with their Ecstatic Awakener after they've gotten the damage out of it. Very nice play. And a Novice Occultist coming on out, a 1-2 that lets them draw a card when it dies. We're probably going to have to expel this Awoken Demon, go ahead and exile that when it attacks in. They make the Novice Occultist a 2-3, so it's large enough to attack in without fear of it dying here. Okay, now I'm leaning towards expelling the Cutpurse because the Cutpurse does come back as a good flyer in the future. This comes back as a 3-2, but it comes into play tapped. We have 8 mana, we don't have enough mana to bring it back as a 3-2 yet here. I guess I take 6 for now. Because I'm pretty sure I'm exiling the Cutpurse. Because we're just not going to have anything to block the flying version of that, and obviously we won't want to block the ground version until we can block without losing a creature. Yeah, let's do that. Jaren, Corrupted Bishop. Alright, we have seen our opponent's Mythic Rare now. Enters battlefield or another non-human dies. They lose life, create a 1-1. They can give those lifelink. If they have 13 life exactly, they can transfer this into a super sick card. This is not going to be the game for us. I'm just going to scoop them up here so we can grab another game and hopefully not waste too much more of our opponent's time there. Just draw 2 very aggressive cards in a super defensive position. Critical Hit and Abandon the Post. So, I am noticing some definitely non-synergistic things going on in our Rock and Roll Lorehold deck. I think the Rock and Roll deck has some cheap, aggressive spells, but the creatures in there are pretty slow. And the Lorehold deck is just slow in general, as Lorehold tends to be when you're trying to do the Leave the Graveyard combos. So, I think that I think I did not choose the greatest 2 packets to go together, but that's okay. We've already got our wins, so we could just lose every other game. We'll be fine. But in the future, I think if you pair the Rock and Roll deck with a pretty quick deck that can put a lot of creatures onto the board early, that would be the best combo for it. Ooh, a blue-black deck with Ludovic Necrogenius here. And I'm assuming that the black deck is a dungeon delving deck, because when they complete a dungeon, they get the dungeon crawler back. It usually takes a decent amount of time to complete a dungeon, so I will trade with the dungeon crawler there. They can exile it under Ludovic to flip this into a 4-4. But I'd rather take that trade, because it's going to be a little while before they have the mana to use that anyway. Alright, well, they're going to speed run some dungeons here. Acererak, the Archlich. When it enters the battlefield, if they haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, return it back to its hand and venture into the dungeon. So for 3 mana every turn, they can venture on in, so they can speed run this Tomb of Annihilation really quickly here and get that dungeon crawler back to their hand, actually. So blue-black deck here. I'm guessing blue-black, some kind of Innistrad theme, maybe zombies. And then the black part is definitely dungeon crawling here. Yep, and there's clattering skeletons to crawl into the dungeon again. Well, I'm going to take this trade probably. Like, if we're super lucky, Delina can do some good stuff, but Necrogenous just guaranteed. As soon as they hit a blue source, it's like a 5/5. Yeah, it's a 4/4 and they exile a creature and get a +1/+1 counter for each creature exiled, so. Yeah, I think we're really on the defensive here, and I'm just going to take this trade. Not go for the super luck play. I will cast a Quintorius now, and hopefully we can start using Quintorius' ability to get a bunch of 3/2s and start getting a nice field of defenders here. Precipitous Drop, though, gonna venture them farther into the dungeon, and when they complete it, now we'll be giving -5/-5, which means that they will be killing Quintorius as soon as they complete a dungeon. But until then, hopefully we can return some cards. Get at least a couple spirits. I guess technically our only card in hand is Pillar Drop Rescuer to return a creature that costs 3 or less, and we don't have one here. So we're not going to get anything out of Quintorius unless we draw something good. So we might as well just sack Quintorius. Yeah, I guess we sacrifice Quintorius. They do get the 4/4 Atropal, they get Dungeon Crawler back to their hand, and now Acererak can come into play and stay on the board. It's looking like this is super over for us here. Well, in what is going to be the final game of the video, I do have to say, pretty happy that we had one opponent concede, because this deck is not looking sweet. This might be one of the weaker jumpstart strategies I've ever played here, and our opponents have some really synergistic super sick stuff. Because yeah, this is sick, as was the Rakdos party deck. Those were both awesome. Ooh, returned past caller? Well, we get to do something here. We don't have any spirits in our grave, though. Or instants, so again, we get to return nothing. The Lorehold deck just has not been working out. And the Rock and Roll deck neither, hasn't either, I should say. Go to 4 life here. They need another blue mana to flip Ludovic, so we're not immediately dead here. Plus, that's only a sorcery speed ability. So we'll survive through that. Alright, well. Get out there, Breakneck Berserker. We are very dead on board. We can only block 1 creature. And they have removal too. Devastating. That is very lethal. Alright, well that is going to end today's Jump In video. Kind of a weird name for the standard Jumpstart event. Because it's straight up Jumpstart. I don't know why they don't give it the Jumpstart title, technically. But yeah, we got some sweet stuff for the collection. Let's go ahead and take a look through the deck list at the end here and check out everything we've got. We've got Velomachus Lorehold. I think that's got to be the coolest thing that we opened up pretty easily. But we'll look through everything else. Quintorius as well is pretty cool. Delina's cool. But it looks like everything else is just some a rare and some uncommons. So yeah, Velomachus Lorehold, great opening in this event for only the 1,000 gold entry fee. I mean, some good good cards, at least Velomachus and Alina, some fun cards to play around with. So pretty cool event. Definitely recommend it for those that just want to grab some more Jumpstart gameplay. Pretty cheap entry fee, so pretty low barrier to entry this time around, and super casual stuff. Really easy to get your one reward. You only have to win one game, and as you can see from my gameplay today, often you may just find an opponent who will concede eventually early in the game, even if you're not doing so hot. So with that all out of the way, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you'd like to have the YouTube algorithm send you more of these videos and send these videos to others, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to promote the content. And I will be back again very soon for some more Magic Arena. Next weekend we have Innistrad Midnight Hunt Draft Challenges. The week after that, Ravnica returns, and the week after that, Premier Draft of Core sets, and then, of course, pretty much exactly 1 month from now, the new Innistrad set, so stay tuned for all that cool stuff. I will have plenty coming to you in the near future. So once again, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.